In the depths of space, no one can hear you scream. But what if I told you that the screams behind the cameras of Alien were just as terrifying as anything on screen? This isn't just the story of a monster hunting a crew in the vastness of space. This is the untold story of a film that traumatized its own cast, where real fear bled into every frame. From Sigourney Weaver's shocking audition revelation to the chestburster scene that left actors genuinely horrified, we're about to uncover the secrets that even the most devoted Alien fans have never discovered. By the time we're done, you'll never see Ridley Scott's masterpiece the same way again. The film that almost never happened before Alien became the sci-fi horror masterpiece we know today. It was a script that nobody in Hollywood wanted to touch. Ridley Scott revealed in later interviews that studio executives couldn't understand what writers Dan O'Bannon and Ronald Shusett were trying to create. The original pitch meetings were disasters, with one executive famously asking, "So it's just a monster chasing people around a spaceship?" Everything changed when the writers simplified their approach with 2 words: Jaws in space. Suddenly, executives understood the concept. But here's what most fans don't know. Alien almost never got made because of a writer's strike in 1979. The strike actually worked in the film's favor, as it prevented other studios from developing competing space horror projects. Scott admitted that without that strike, 3 other similar films would have beaten Alien to theaters. Sometimes the greatest masterpieces survive by pure accident. The Nostromo. What transformed Alien from another B-movie monster flick into a claustrophobic nightmare was the Nostromo itself. Ridley Scott made a decision that would haunt his cast for months. He refused to build the ship on a soundstage. Instead, Scott revealed years later, he used real industrial locations, including power plants and refineries, to create the ship's interior. Sigourney Weaver described the psychological impact. Walking into those corridors each morning felt like descending into hell. The metal was cold, the spaces were genuinely cramped, and there was this constant industrial hum that got into your bones. The cast wasn't acting claustrophobic. They were actually experiencing it. Tom Skerritt added that Scott deliberately made the ceilings lower than normal film sets. Ridley wanted us to feel trapped, and it worked. Even between takes, you felt this weight pressing down on you. The Nostromo wasn't just a backdrop. It became the film's most oppressive character, long before the alien even appeared. Casting secrets and character revelations. The biggest shock about Alien's casting isn't who got the roles. It's how radically different the characters were originally conceived. Sigourney Weaver dropped a bombshell in a 1999 interview. Ripley was written as a man. The character was originally Ripley, a tough male engineer, Weaver revealed. When they decided to flip the gender, they barely changed the dialogue. That's why Ripley doesn't scream or faint. She was written with male characteristics. John Hurt's approach to playing Kane went far beyond typical method acting. He actually spent nights sleeping in cramped spaces to understand his character's psychological state. "I wanted to feel what it was like to be trapped," Hurt explained. "Kane spends most of the film either unconscious or dying, but I needed to understand his fear." Perhaps most fascinating is Ian Holm's secret preparation for playing Ash the android. Holm practiced moving with mechanical precision for weeks, even at home. His wife later admitted she thought he was having a nervous breakdown. The chestburster scene. The most iconic scene in horror cinema history was built on a foundation of genuine terror and carefully orchestrated deception. What most fans believe about the chestburster scene is only half the story. Yes, the cast knew something was going to burst out of John Hurt's chest, but Ridley Scott revealed the shocking truth. They had no idea about the blood. Veronica Cartwright's horrified reaction wasn't acting. It was genuine shock. "They told us there would be some blood, but when that thing exploded and drenched me head to toe, I thought I was going to pass out," Cartwright admitted. Scott had hidden high-pressure blood pumps that none of the actors knew about. John Hurt later confessed that even he was startled by the violence of the effect. "I felt the creature break through, but the amount of blood was terrifying even for me." The crew shot the scene with multiple hidden cameras because they knew they'd only get one chance for authentic reactions. What you see on screen isn't acting. It's real human shock captured forever. H.R. Giger's nightmare vision. Swiss artist H.R. Giger didn't just design the alien, he channeled his own psychological demons into creating cinema's most disturbing creature. What the cast has revealed about seeing Giger's designs for the first time explains why their fear feels so authentic throughout the film. Sigourney Weaver described her first encounter with Giger's artwork. "I walked into his studio and immediately felt sick. These weren't just monster drawings. They were psychological warfare. The biomechanical designs were intentionally crafted to trigger deep, primal fears about sexuality, death, and violation." Tom Skerritt revealed that several cast members requested not to see the full alien costume until filming. "Some of us wanted to preserve that genuine fear reaction," he explained. Giger's original designs were actually deemed too disturbing for film. The final alien was a toned-down version. The rejected concepts were so psychologically disturbing that studio executives refused to approve them, fearing they would traumatize audiences permanently. Hidden meanings. Most fans never catch Alien operates on multiple symbolic levels that most viewers completely miss, even after repeated viewings. The cast has revealed these hidden meanings in interviews over the decades, transforming how we understand the film's deeper themes. Ridley Scott confirmed that the alien represents corporate exploitation. "The creature doesn't just hunt the crew, it uses them, just like the company uses the crew," Scott explained. The alien's life cycle mirrors corporate structure. It infiltrates, exploits resources, and discards what it doesn't need. Most fascinating is the visual motif Scott embedded throughout. Every corridor and chamber in the Nostromo resembles human anatomy. "We're inside a body being consumed by a parasite," Weaver noted. "The ship is the body, we're the immune system, and the alien is the disease. The film is literally about cancer from the inside." Deleted scenes that changed everything. The alien you know from theaters is dramatically different from Ridley Scott's original vision. Several deleted scenes would have fundamentally altered the film's meaning and impact. The most shocking omission was the cocoon sequence, which Sigourney Weaver called the most disturbing thing I've ever filmed. In this deleted scene, Ripley discovers that the alien doesn't just kill, it transforms its victims. She finds Dallas and Brett cocooned and slowly being converted into alien eggs. "Tom Skerritt was barely recognizable, covered in this organic webbing, begging me to kill him," Weaver revealed. "It was genuinely horrifying because it meant death wasn't the worst thing that could happen to you." Scott removed the scene because test audiences found it too disturbing, but its absence changed the alien's nature entirely. With the cocoon sequence, the creature becomes a virus that spreads by converting victims. Without it, it's just a predator. John Hurt later said this deletion was the film's biggest mistake. It made the alien less terrifying because death became preferable to what it actually does to you. On-set tensions and real fear. What many fans don't realize is that the terror you see on screen was often genuine fear experienced by the cast during filming. Ridley Scott deliberately created an atmosphere of psychological tension that pushed his actors to their breaking points, and the results were sometimes more disturbing than the fictional horror they were portraying. Veronica Cartwright revealed that Scott would isolate cast members between takes, refusing to let them comfort each other after particularly intense scenes. "He wanted us to stay in that headspace of fear and paranoia," she explained. "By the third week, we were all genuinely on edge, jumping at shadows and suspicious of each other." Most shocking was Scott's decision to keep the cast in the dark about many plot points. Ian Holm didn't know he was playing an android until halfway through filming, creating genuine confusion that translated into his unsettling performance. The alien's secret performance. Behind the most terrifying creature in cinema history was a 6'10" Nigerian art student who had never acted before in his life. Bolaji Badejo's casting as the alien is one of Hollywood's most unlikely success stories, and what he revealed about the experience shows just how much physical and psychological preparation went into bringing this nightmare to life. Ridley Scott discovered Badejo in a London pub, immediately recognizing that his unusual height and incredibly thin frame were perfect for the alien's otherworldly movements. "Ridley approached me and said I had the body of his monster," Badeo recalled years later. I thought he was insane. What fans never see is how Badeo studied animal predators for months to create the aliens' movements. He spent hours observing snakes, spiders, and big cats, incorporating their hunting behaviors into his performance. The alien doesn't move like a human in a suit, Badeo explained. Every gesture had to feel completely foreign. Sound design. What makes Alien truly terrifying isn't just what you see, it's what you hear. The film's sound design operates on a subliminal level that most viewers never consciously register, yet it's responsible for much of the psychological terror that has made audiences jump for over 4 decades. Sound designer Ben Burt revealed that many of the alien's sounds came from his own body. The creature's breathing was my own breath, slowed down and filtered through water, Burt explained. The hissing sounds were created by blowing air through a mixture of KY jelly and water. This gave the alien an unsettlingly organic quality that felt uncomfortably intimate. The Nostromo's constant background hum was deliberately designed to create subconscious anxiety. Composer Jerry Goldsmith incorporated sounds recorded inside actual industrial facilities, creating what he called mechanical breathing. Cast members reported feeling constantly on edge because of these barely perceptible audio frequencies. Perhaps most disturbing was Goldsmith's use of what sound engineers call brown noise, low-frequency sounds that trigger primal fear responses in humans. These frequencies, below the range of conscious hearing, activate the same neurological pathways as predator encounters, explaining why audiences feel genuinely frightened even during quiet scenes. Box office. Surprise to cultural phenomenon. Nobody at 20th Century Fox expected Alien to become anything more than a modest B-movie success. Studio executives were so uncertain about its commercial appeal that they nearly dumped it straight to drive-in theaters. What happened instead shocked Hollywood and created a blueprint for how intelligent horror could dominate mainstream cinema. Ridley Scott revealed that studio heads were baffled by test screenings. Executives kept asking why the monster wasn't shown more, Scott explained. They didn't understand that fear of the unknown was more powerful than showing everything. Initial marketing focused on action rather than horror, completely missing what made the film special. The breakthrough came when word of mouth spread about audiences' visceral reactions. Theater owners reported people fainting during the chestburster scene and walking out mid-film, not from boredom, but from genuine terror. Sigourney Weaver noted, "We knew we had something special when people started returning to theaters just to watch their friends' reactions." Alien's unexpected success spawned an entire subgenre of haunted house in space films, but none captured the original's perfect balance of psychological terror and sci-fi innovation. The film proved that audiences craved intelligent horror that respected their intelligence while still delivering genuine scares. The legacy. 45 years later, Alien remains the gold standard for sci-fi horror, and the cast's reflections reveal why it has never been surpassed. Unlike countless imitators that rely on gore and jump scares, Alien's terror comes from something far more primal and enduring. Sigourney Weaver explained the film's timeless appeal. Alien taps into fears that don't age: claustrophobia, violation, corporate betrayal, and the unknown. These anxieties are as relevant today as they were in 1979. The film's themes of expendable workers and profit-driven corporations feel more relevant than ever in our current economic climate. Ridley Scott noted that practical effects give the film an authenticity that CGI can't match. The alien was physically there with the actors. You can't fake that kind of presence. Modern audiences, oversaturated with digital creatures, find something refreshingly terrifying about the tangible reality of Geiger's biomechanical nightmare. If you've never experienced Alien on the big screen, you owe it to yourself to seek out a theatrical screening.